Dead by Daylight lore in story format that you can go to sleep to? You won't want to miss this. 100% guaranteed to make you enjoy DBD lore, or your next large popcorn from the Greenville Theater is on me. I'm RealSlowLoris, and I'll be stepping in for the Observer to bring you more wonderfully wicked lore from the fog. This content is best listened to with headphones or a high-quality speaker. It's time to lock your doors, cuddle up with a warm blanket and a cup of tea by the fire. Tonight, I have two spine-tingling tales for you. It's come to my attention that two murderous forces recently met at the edge of the fog. This isn't a very common occurrence. One has already existed within the entity's realm for quite some time, but the other has just arrived. I fear it's my responsibility as a keeper of the lore to make you aware. But mostly, I don't want it on my conscience when something happens to you. The least I can do is let you know how you'll most likely meet your demise. With that said, we'll begin with the creature that arrived first. For some reason, I've heard there's a small subset of deluded individuals that have started referring to this being in an endearing fashion. I was absolutely bewildered when I recently overheard them being fondly referred to as Unk. Those misguided souls should listen to me. I'd tell them the true story behind this monster. I know them as the Unknown. Olivia's master's thesis was on urban legends and their origins. She believed they shared similarities with traditional folklore and picked one to illustrate her point. The Unknown was believed to be a mysterious evil so heinous that investigating it almost immediately invited death. At least, that was how the story went. And there were many stories. One story was of a woman in Greenville who disappeared without a trace, on stage, in front of a room full of witnesses. Her friend disappeared weeks later while trying to investigate what happened. The police were stumped. They had no clues or leads, and that mystery created the perfect storm for amplifying and spreading an urban legend. Instead of going back home for spring break, Olivia headed to Greenville to investigate. She drove to the second cheapest motel in town and began to set up in a small room that smelled of cigarette smoke, mold, and booze. She turned one wall into a kind of evidence board. She taped up articles and various theories on similar disappearances attributed to the unknown throughout the country. She made connections with red string and yellow thumbtacks. Anyone walking into the motel room would think she had lost her mind. There were many theories as to the unknown's origin. Some said it was a malevolent entity conjured long ago by an ancient cult. Others believed it to be an alien that escaped from Area 51. Legend was it thrived in darkness and stole the voices of those it consumed so as to lure others to their doom. The first newspaper articles Olivia found referenced a disappearance at a seance held in the 1800s. In the late 1950s, several college students mysteriously disappeared from a movie theater. Witnesses saw them go inside. Some remembered seeing them in their seats. When the lights came up, they were gone. No one saw them leave. No trace of them was ever found. A projectionist claimed to have heard voices in the empty darkness of the theater later that night. But when he turned on the lights, no one was there. Then, in the 1960s, a group of teens disappeared while exploring an abandoned hospital believed to be haunted. Stories and speculation arose to explain these mystifying disappearances. Some talked about a top-secret government research program run by the Office of Strategic Services in the 1950s. Project Apple Pie, mind control experiments using hallucinogenic drugs. Most of the records were destroyed in the 70s. But witnesses claim that experiments were performed on unsuspecting civilians in various settings and locations throughout the country, including movie theaters, hospitals, and universities. Many believed these unethical experiments opened doorways to other dimensions, which allowed evil things to enter the world. Olivia wrote observations to pin to her evidence board. The unknown dwells in darkness and can mimic its victims. Was it an evil entity? An extraterrestrial? A failed government experiment? Or just a garden variety serial killer allergic to publicity? She wanted to prove the unknown was nothing more than modern day folklore. And that investigation led here, this night, to this place, to this shabby motel room. Yet, she couldn't help but notice that the disappearances in Greenville included one detail the other stories didn't: the fog. And she half remembered another urban legend with a thick, unnatural fog that somehow made people disappear. Maybe, she mused, the Greenville disappearances didn't relate to the unknown, but some other darkness. For a moment, Olivia wondered what would happen if one urban legend encountered another. She laughed at the idea and tempted fate by sketching a picture of what she thought the unknown might look like. Then she pinned the sketch right in the middle of her evidence board, laughed nervously, and waited to be consumed by the unknown for having tried to define it. Anxiously, she stared at the windows and front door for seconds that turned to minutes, and minutes that turned to hours. But nothing happened. Now it was after 2 a.m., and Olivia was exhausted as she examined the articles and sipped cold coffee. So, when she first heard the whisper, she wondered if she had imagined it. It seemed to come from the bathroom. The lights in the room flickered. Who's there? Olivia stared with wide eyes at the closed door of the bathroom. Her mind was playing tricks on her. Or her friends had shown up to prank her. Ariella? Sean? Stop messing around. The lights continued to flicker. As she edged closer to the bathroom, fear spread in long waves through her, and a terrible realization bloomed within her that the unknown was behind that bathroom door, was preparing to make her pay for her hubris. Something began to whisper her name again. But then the voice rose, cracked, and distorted in sudden panic, as if the brooding creature behind the door were under attack. An unknown horror filled Olivia's heart and left room for nothing else. She breathed deeply as a cold sweat beaded on her forehead. She placed her hand on the doorknob The lights turned off. But she could still hear the strangely inhuman cries. Then the lights turned back on, and she could see a strange, black fog seeping through the bottom of the door. Hesitantly, Olivia creaked the door open to see a bulky shape with frenzied tentacles being pulled into a thick mass of fog, vanishing slowly into the darkness like a dying shadow. The shrieking stopped suddenly. Neighbors banged on the wall to turn down the TV, and Olivia stared intently at the black abyss that yawned before her. She wasn't sure what to do. Part of her wanted to run, but the other part wanted to know more. And as she considered what to do next, dozens of voices began to call out to her with promises of the unknown and the impossible, and of unearthly things beyond human experience. Oh, Olivia, what have you gotten yourself into? I'll never understand what possesses these idiotic mortals to tempt fate, but the fog never seems to be in short supply of these overconfident fools. What do you think she'll choose? Not that it matters. The entity can be quite persuasive. Even if you say no, she'll always get what she wants. Up next, we're going to move on to our new arrival and experience the lore of the slasher, also known as Jason. The slasher looms at the edge of the tree line. On his face is an old, worn hockey mask. Expressionless, a grave threat. Ahead is a tent, a silhouette of a camper within. If it were any other misty night, the Greenville forest would be alive with the sounds of wildlife. Tonight, there is silence. He takes stock of anything useful scattered near the tent: rope, tent spikes, a hacksaw. Gripping his machete with a strength that could crush the handle, he steps from the shadows. A quick swipe tears the tent open. It's not a camper that stares up at him. It is something else. Almost human, skin twisted and deformed in a familiar way. Mouth fixed in a perpetual grin. Covered in blood, holding an axe. There are signs of a struggle, yet no victim to be seen. The creature watches and waits, twitching with uncertainty. The slasher stares back, fixated on its misshapen face.
Can you help find my cat?
Asks the creature, voice shifting between pitches. Without warning, it plants the axe into the slasher's chest. The slasher doesn't hesitate. He reaches out and snaps the creature's neck, wrenching it backwards. It remains standing. He stabs his machete into its belly. The creature's head twists back into place. Moonlight reveals dark holes where its eyes should be. A A fleshy proboscis extends from its neck and opens. A booming force strikes the slasher. He staggers, disoriented. The creature's axe cuts through his muscle, hits bone. The slasher slams his hand forward through the creature's chest. His fist tightens around what feels like a beating heart. He rips his hand out, holding not a heart, but a clump of entangled flesh. The spidery thing crawls up his arm, stabbing with hooked protrusions. He rips it off, chunks of skin coming with it. The creature seizes the advantage, knocks him down, tosses the axe aside, and wails on him with surprising force. Ribs snap like dry wood. The slasher reaches for the hacksaw. He slashes it across the creature's throat. Pink ooze spills onto his mask. The creature continues its assault. The slasher scrapes the blade deeper, cutting through thick, sinewy flesh until the creature's head falls from its body. It writhes in the dirt. A desperate, violent, and ineffective movement. After a final thrash, it collapses, lying motionless. The slasher turns away, scores of wounds across his body, and strides into the darkness. A crimson trail follows his every step. Behind him, a warbling voice calls out,
I could use a hand here.
In a flash, the headless creature charges on all fours. Tentacles burst from a gaping maw on its back and seize the slasher. Snapping jaws emerge, burrowing into his body. He spasms. Blood seeps from the holes of his mask. The moon's glow darkens. With one final push, the slasher thrusts his fist through the worming appendages and into the maw. He rises to his feet, lifting the creature, impaling it on his arms. With an overpowering heave, he slams it into the ground. Still, it moves. The slasher grabs its legs and swings it into a tree. A sickening crunch. He swings again. He doesn't stop until he holds in his hands two legs, unconnected to the fleshy puddle of gore that lies beneath him. Something twitches in the puddle, as if thin threads of muscle twine back together. The slasher looks around. The mist that permeates this forest turns black. In the gloom, he glimpses visions of skittish, fearful people roaming the forests. He storms through the dark cloud, wisps parting to reveal a young woman, olive-skinned, scarf around her neck. Her eyes widen in terror. He swings his machete. Her screams are cut short as she chokes on the blood that spews from her throat. Her death echoes through the realm as a warning. Jason is here. As we step out of the fog and you begin to see clearer, we come back to the present, nestled deep in your blankets, bundled up cozy. You're safe and sound as you drift off into a deep slumber. After all, there's no slashers to fear here. Right? I hope you enjoyed this episode of Dead by Daylight lore in story format that you can go to sleep to. If you'd like to see more, drop a like, a follow, or let me know in the comments whose backstory you'd like to hear next. You can also catch me live on the Purple app most days late at night. While you're doing all of that, here are some outtakes I made recording this. I found them extremely ironic considering the voice lines. I hope they make you laugh. See you later. Fair warning, the outtake reel is a bit more upbeat than Sleep by Daylight. Not a camper, but... Oh god. My cat? My cat? That's it, she's right here, unknown. I found your cat! Come get her before I go insane! Impossible to record voice lines! Pile of gore that lies beneath... Ah, yeah, that's what you sound like. Brr. Demon. Wow. Brr. Brr. Yeah. Your name shouldn't have been Ellie. It should have been Diva, because you're being a diva. Yeah, diva. I could use a hand. I could use a hand. I could use a Olive Gummy.